Hey guys, welcome to today's lesson. We're looking at triangles. We've been looking at a few different aspects of triangles. The very first thing, however, what we will be looking at is what we call the angle sum of a triangle. What that means is we're going to have a triangle, and this can be any triangle depending, or any certain triangle, any angles or any side lengths. But basically what we're going to do, we're going to add the three angles together, in this case angle A, B and C, whatever they are. So we're going to do A plus B plus C, and we're going to work out what they add up to give, because they're going to equal a certain number. But I'm also going to show you how we get that number and where that number comes from. In order to do that, I'm going to draw a line that is parallel to the base of my triangle. I might just extend my triangle line just so you can see where my parallel lines are. Now, you should have already looked at the lessons on angles in parallel lines, so things like alternate angles, co-interior and corresponding, because that's how I'm going to figure out what the angle sum of a triangle is going to be. Okay, so let's have a look now at angle A. If I look at angle A here, all right, we might look at see what angle is equal to angle A. Well, I've got this Z angle here. Remember our Z angle from our alternate angles? Where we've got one angle on one side of that transversal line, which is equal to that other angle. So on the alternate side. Now, they would be called alternate angles. All right, alternate angles, that little Z angle. Likewise, if I look at the angle on the opposite side, I guess the back to front Z angle, oops, that's not very straight as such. What you'll find is this angle here, which is angle C, is also equal to this angle C here. Again, the ruling for that would be alternate angles. Now, what do you notice? If I add these three angles together, A, B, and C, what do you think they're up to give? Well, hopefully what you recognize that A plus B plus C is equal to 180 degrees, because they are on a straight line, or you could call that a straight angle. Okay, again, you can see my straight line going across there. So if I add A, B, and C, they must equal 180 degrees. But you'll also notice that A, B, and C are also the angles of my triangle, which means that they have to also equal 180 degrees. That is the proof, and that's what I would say is the angle sum of a triangle. So often when you're asked about the angle sum of a triangle, you simply need to remember again that angle sum of a triangle equals 180 degrees, and that's often what you'll give for your reason when you're solving questions, which I'm going to show you. So let's have a look at a couple of examples. Let's say I'm going to give you a nice easy example to start with. So EG1. So I'm going to give you just a nice triangle. I'm going to give you that as 60 degrees, as 50 degrees, and that as x. So the question would read, find the value of x. So my first statement would be adding the three angles together. X plus 60 plus 50 is equal to 180 degrees. Now, like we have done for the other lessons, we need to say why. Why does it equal 180 degrees? Where does that number come from? Well, that number comes from the angle sum of a triangle equals 180 degrees. Often if you write angle sum of a triangle, they'll give you those marks. So that's my first statement. Now what we can do is simplify, and this is up to you. You might go, oh, okay, I'm just simply going to do that as 110 and take that away from 180 degrees. Or you might actually like to write out that 60 plus 50 is 110 equals 180 degrees. And I'm going to simply take that away from my 180 degrees, which is lots of different ways you can do that. But my answer is going to equal to 70 degrees, or x is simply equal to 70. So that means if I put 70 degrees here, if I add 70 plus 50 is 120, plus 60 is 180, therefore it's correct. Okay, that's my first example. My second example is going to be slightly more challenging. Okay, now this is more for the advanced styles of questions. I'm going to say this is going to be 3x, this is going to be 2x, I'm going to make this as x plus 10. Now, why is this more challenging? Well, probably because instead of using just normal numbers, I'm now using a bit more algebra. So what do we know about angle sum of a triangle? Well, we know if I add all these angles together, in this case 2x plus 3x plus x plus 10, then they will all add up to give 180 degrees. Why is that the case? Because the angle sum of a triangle is equal to 180 degrees. Now it becomes a matter of solving my equation, adding or subtracting like terms. So I've got a 2x here, I've got 3 more x's, I've got 1 more x here. So 2 plus 3 is 5, plus 1 is 6 x's, plus 10 equals 180. I'm now going to take the 10 across to the other side. The opposite of plus 10 is minus 10. I'm going to clean it up. 180 take away 10 is 170. How can I get rid of the times by 6? Well, we're now going to divide by 6. So x is equal to a slightly more challenging number. So 6 goes into 17. Well, it goes into 17 twice with 5 left over. 6 into 50, or 6 eighths of 48, and 2 left over, so it'd be 2 out of 6 is 1/3. Thereabouts, but you've got a calculator to do that. So you just type that into calculator, and it should get 28 and 1/3, as long as I've done that correctly, of course. It's a bit late, so I could have done that wrong. Hopefully not. Okay, so what we've looked at is angle sum of a triangle. Next thing I'm going to look at, which will end up being, I guess, the last thing I'm going to be looking at as well, is the different types of triangles. Now, you probably have done this before, so this shouldn't be a new thing. There are 3 main types. The first one we're going to call an equilateral triangle. An equilateral triangle. Now, what do I know about an equilateral triangle? Well, it's all in the name. Equal. Everything is equal. So, it means that we have all equal sides, and watch what I do with my diagram. I'm going to put little strokes on each of the 3 sides to show that they're all equal, and we've also got equal angles, hence the word equilateral. But not just equal angles. Think about it. If you know that all angles are the same, they're all equal, but we also know that the angle sum of a triangle equals 180 degrees, well, think, if they're all the same and it equals 180 degrees, then that means I've got 3x equals 180. So if I divide that by 3, because there are 3 equal angles, we get x equals 60 degrees. So not only are all the angles equal, they are also equal 60 degrees each. So that's what an equilateral triangle is, all equal sides, and the angles are all 60 degrees. The next triangle, which is quite significant, we're going to call as the isosceles, and I just spelt that wrong. It's one thing I tend to do, and I am an English teacher, believe it or not. I often spell isosceles incorrectly. As long as you get the gist of it, guys, it's probably not going to be such a bad thing. So, isosceles. I don't think there's an E on the end of it either. Okay, anyway, you get the drift. Isosceles triangle. So what do we know about an isosceles triangle? Well, hopefully you will know, because again, you may have done this a few years ago, that we have 2 equal sides. There we go there. And also we have base angles are equal, which means that the angles in here, the opposite the sides that are equal, are also equal. But I mean, they could be any size. They could be 30 degrees each, 40 degrees each, 50 degrees each. They can be lots of different angles. But again, we have 2 equal sides and basically 2 equal angles. And the third one, which although it's important to know the name of this, it isn't as significant for our purposes, I guess, because it's not going to help us when we're doing angle sum of triangles, etc. But this is called a scalene triangle, which means it has different sides, which I might denote by doing 1 stroke, 2 strokes, and 3 strokes, and it also has different angles. One thing I might also note is sometimes they refer to a triangle as a regular triangle. A regular triangle. I wonder if you know what that means. Well, regular means that everything is the same. That means that a regular triangle is actually an equilateral triangle. It means all the sides are equal and all the angles are equal, just another way of saying it. So, okay, what does that have to do with the stuff that we're doing at the beginning of this lesson? Well, they might give you a question. I'm going to say this is EG3, where they give you a triangle like this. They might say that's 50 degrees there, that's X, and then they say that those two sides are equal. Now you need to find out the value of X, and the only way you can do this is by knowing that this is an isosceles triangle. That's what we need to know, because if this is an isosceles triangle, we know that it's telling us that those two sides are equal, therefore it must be an isosceles triangle. Then that means that the base angles are both X. So what I'm going to write down is this: 2X plus 50 degrees equals 180 degrees. I'm going to say the angle sum of an isosceles triangle. Now, why do you think I mentioned the word isosceles? Well, because I can't just say it equals 180 degrees, because I'm going to say, well, how do you know that was X? Where did you get the 2X from? That was X. Well, how do you know the other one was X? So you must make some sort of mention that this is an isosceles triangle. And now it's nice and easy. It's just like we did before. Take the 50 away. So we get 2X is equal to 130 degrees. Divide it by 2. So we get X is equal to 65. And I've got my answer. Okay, so that's where they can get you, I guess, from the isosceles triangle point of view, or the equilateral triangle as well. But certainly, look, most of the questions are pretty easy. The most important part is that you remember your reason: angle sum of a triangle equals 180 degrees. And when you ever do your question and you do your first line where you add the three angles together and put equals 180, then you must put that down as your reason. Okay? Gone are the days where you can just say that X equals this. You need to say Y it equals 180. It's because the angle sum of a triangle is 180 degrees. Enjoy.